Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So for today's review, we're going to talk about the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact. All right, this is the 4-inch barreled model, and so far I love this gun. No issues at all, shoots really well, good accuracy, good features to it, good price point. If you saw my earlier review on the full review on this, you can see that it is a great value for what you get. And that being said, there's one thing I talked about in the review that I really want to fix. That is this trigger right here. And of course, this is unloaded, no problems there. That trigger leaves something to be desired. All right, so I started looking around, what can we do about that? And we'll bring this closer to the table and show you guys a little more closer on the trigger itself. But what I found was that a company called Apex, you might know them, they do quite a lot of trigger work for a variety of different firearms, makes a flat forward trigger kit right here. This is the full kit right here, full set. You can see the trigger there, right there out front with a bunch of the actual parts and accessories that come with it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go and bring this to the table. We're gonna talk about what comes in this kit, and then I can't show you the install on YouTube anymore. YouTube's been flagging videos left and right for anything like that, for installations, for AR lowers, for working on gunsmithing on handguns, so it's a big pain. Totally sucks, but it's what we got to deal with. But instead, Apex has a couple of excellent videos on their website. So actually myself, I'm going to use that as well. Should not be that hard to do. I've already watched a couple of videos. It seems pretty straightforward. And there's a variety of settings as well for the weights you want to do for the trigger weight. And we'll talk about the trigger weight on this for the pull weight right before we actually go and put this trigger in. So let's go ahead and bring this up to the table, talk about this a little close up, and then we'll get this new trigger in and we'll talk about that as well. So let's talk about what you'll need to get this install done. You'll need a hammer. You can use one of these basic smaller steel hammers like this. Preferably you might want to get a brass hammer. Kind of looks like this, except brass screw-on pieces. I don't have one of those. I had one, it broke, so I need to get a new one. You'll need a pencil potentially. If you don't want to use one of these micrometers, and that is to actually measure the rear sight placement, and we'll talk about that because unfortunately the Smith & Wessons, you will need to remove or drift at least halfway over the rear sight. You need a brass punch. This one I've used in a previous review on my shield. I really hope the sights on this compact are not as hard as the shield is. You need some punches. I know you need a 1/16 and I believe a 3/32 at the bare minimum. You'll need a 1/16 hex wrench. You'll need some kind of vise block for the top of the slide to get your sight out. I highly recommend if you don't have that. I've seen a lot of folks use these, and these I've used myself, work great. You just get a couple of pieces of scrap wood. I wrapped them with some of the auto paper towels to kind of help with a little bit of padding. They even have some marks left from the shield that I was using to drift out the sights for some night sights. They work really well. With that, safety glasses always. You will need a spare piece of wood to work on your workbench here, especially with some of the punches, some of the pins you have to pop out here. Preferably, you would want an armorer's block. I don't have one of those right now. You could drill a couple holes in here. That can help out as well. Electrical tape, I might go and wrap the end of this brass punch because it's kind of getting pretty gnarled up, if you can see that from the last time I used it. So I might go ahead, put some tape on the end, give it a little bit of extra padding. I'll get some cloths and maybe some CLP. I've shot this quite a bit now, so it might be a little dirty. Now's the time to clean parts that you normally can't access. And then, of course, lastly, you will need a unloaded Smith & Wesson 2.0. This kit works with the 2.0 or the 2.0 compact. And, of course, you need the kit. So, talking about the kit, let's go ahead, show you guys what's in here. It's pretty basic, pretty small packaging. All right, does not come with any instructions. In fact, they even say right in the package there, they do recommend a competent gunsmith installs this. However, I've been installing quite a few triggers recently, so I think we'll be all right. All your springs. Got your plunger, got your sight tool. This is gonna help hold that plunger down. So it's nice how they separated that out. And of course, the trigger itself. There it is. So before we install the Apex trigger, let's talk about the original stock trigger. Some folks like it. It's definitely manageable. It works really well for what it is, but of course it has its flaws and it can always be improved. This particular firearm is my new kind of go-to range firearm, as well as my home defense firearm. So what I want to do is make sure that this has the best trigger possible, the best options on it. Plus, it's just a lot of fun to really trick these guys out, just like a Glock. All right, Smith & Wesson is right up there with Glock on the accessories and things you can do to trick it out: sights, slides, barrels, you name it, triggers. So let's talk about what Apex says this new trigger will do, and then let's talk about the current trigger here. So first off, the current trigger. All right, so this trigger right here, you can see it does have a trigger shoe right here that pivots. See that? So when you put your finger on the trigger, of course, once again, it's unloaded, no worries there. You can activate that little hinge there, okay? Now you compare that to a standard trigger like this one right here with the Apex. Much easier to activate. There is no hinge to bother with, and it's going to help with your finger placement. So that's the first problem. Finger placement is always key on this one, and it's kind of an extra unnecessary step to make sure you activate that. So you can see it goes back, a little bit of take up. All right, it reaches a wall right about there. You can see that. There's a wall there. Now the problem with that is, and that's something the Apex is going to address, you hit that wall, so you get the good view there, focus in, there you go. You hit that wall, and you finally hit the breaking point. And then when you go for your reset, pretty far reset, plus that wall you just climbed through kind of pushes the trigger out a little further, and of course you got the rest to go. So that's something I've noticed with this particular trigger. It's not super user-friendly in that case. I mean, it's going to take some time to really train with it and shoot really well with it, because a trigger is honestly one of the best things you can upgrade. In fact, I just installed the CZ Scorpion HBI spring kit and the with the new Theta forward trigger. Well, not new, it's been around for a couple years, but the new Theta forward flat face trigger, and that thing is awesome. So I'm excited to see how this Apex handles. But again, wall, kind of annoying, kind of gritty. And again, it kind of forces you when you get to that reset, it pushes it out a little further. All right, so let's talk about what the Apex trigger says it's going to do. First off, of course, it's going to reduce the take-up. So like we saw there, it's going to reduce that take-up. It's going to reduce the pre-travel and over-travel by up to 40%. Reduce the pull weight by up to 2 pounds. Now, that's a big deal right now because, in fact, I do have my trusty pull scale here. Go ahead, see what we can ring it up at. And of course, the problem with testing with this original trigger is you have to activate that hinge and then put the scale on there. So it can be a pain. So I got 6 pounds that time, but let's try it one more time. 6 pounds might be it. Yep. 6 pounds again, guys. About 5 point, there you go, about 5.8. Yeah, about 5.8. One more try. There you go. So 6 on the dot. So in theory, the Apex is going to drop this by 2 pounds. So you should be right around 4. And then of course, in addition to that, it's going to make it very crisp, very clean break. And of course, it maintains all the original safeties that come with the original trigger. Just a little bit different design, as you can tell. So like I said, I can't show you guys the install. I've already been flagged for a couple of videos for that, for triggers and lowers and things like that, which kind of sucks, but it's the world we live in. However, the actual Apex website, and if you just Google Apex Trigger M&P 2.0 install, there's a bunch of videos online on different websites, not just YouTube, which is nice. And of course, the step-by-steps on Apex. They did not give you, with the kit, any instruction, like I said. However, I'm going to roll an image right here, and what you're seeing right here is actually the trigger weight from lightest to heaviest, because this trigger actually can be change depending on whether you want a really light competition trigger or if you want to go all the way up to a little bit heavier duty trigger. All right, now even if you do the heavier trigger, that trigger, even though it says like 6 pounds, I think it's like 6.37, and then you can go as low as 4.38. That's 6.37, guys. That might be as heavy as the trigger is now, but it's gonna be much cleaner, much better brake, but it's just a little heavier if you want to conceal carry. Going back to the actual slide and everything here, let's talk about what you need to do to get this installed, all right? So first off, go ahead, take the slide off. All right, first step, you're gonna wanna drift the rear sight right to left. There's a little, that's where the hex wrench comes in, take that out. Drift this right to left with a punch in your vise. All right, there's a little plunger in here, which is right there. You're gonna take that out, swap it out for the correct spring, depending on what you want on that chart. And that is the first problem. In fact, I'll just leave this off to show you guys. There's also pins here. You're gonna take those out to access the trigger unit in there. This is all gonna come out. You're gonna swap out some pins and some springs, a few parts in there, put it all back together, put the slide on it, and you'll have yourself a new Apex trigger. So like I said, it's not super complicated to do if you follow the step-by-steps. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with this, then I would just get the trigger and pay a gunsmith to try it out. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna go and put all this together, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back, talk to you guys how it went, how long it took to do in real time, and then also let you guys know what I think about it. How does it fare? You saw the trigger pull scale here, pulled out about 6 pounds. We're shooting for about 4.5 next time around. You saw the wall, you saw the take up, you saw the reset. Let's hope the Apex really helps out. So let's go ahead and get started. Check that out, guys. There she is. Fairly easy to install, again, step by step, right off the Apex website. They do have a full slide and frame disassembly and reassembly on there, so no problems there, easy to follow. There you go. Some of the parts left over from Apex right here, and some of the original factory parts. There's the original trigger. There you go. No problem. So I went ahead and did the 4.38 pound trigger pull. So let's see how she is. So again, nice flat, nice safety there now. A little bit easier to activate. Your finger's gonna find that safety every time, stay in the same spot. Beautiful. That's perfect. You'll notice the that wall we were reaching before is gone. Looks smooth, clean, very little travel. You just hit the brake right there. Reset. Notice how the finger does not move off the reset, so there's no kind of wall you're hitting again. You're not fighting anything there. Perfect. This whole job took about an hour. Not too bad. I'll roll some pictures in here, but the slide itself wasn't too bad. In fact, that sight was a lot easier than my Shield, which was awesome. Real easy to install there. All the components inside were took a little bit longer, probably about 75% of the time was spent, about 45 minutes on that inside portion there with the trigger mechanism there, but overall pretty easy, straightforward installation. We were pulling about 6 pounds or so, I believe, on the original trigger. This one is supposed to be 4.38. Let's check it out. See what we get. Right about 4.2 it looks like. Let's try again. .2. Try again. 3.4. So we're under 4 still. One more time. She is pretty consistent. 3.5. So below the estimate, Not too bad, but I can't believe how smooth that is now. Really smoothed out. Crisp break there. Nice reset. I like it. I'm excited. So this is a good upgrade to make. It really is. I mean, even with the upgraded trigger that 2.0 brought to the table, I think the Apex package is the way to go. And really, you can't go wrong. I mean, it's just one of those things that really going to help your accuracy, really going to help your shooting capabilities, and it's going to help with follow-up shots as well. So next up, take this to the range, have some fun, see how accurate it is, and I'm sure you guys will see this in some future videos. So, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hey, subscribe to the channel, like this video, let me know if you have any comments below or questions. I'll be happy to answer them, and I'll see you in the next review. That's awesome.